Hey everyone, this is Coach Jordan from Milford Robotics. Today we're going to do a little bit of FLL, Spike Prime, and Scratch tutorial. We're going to jump into some tutorials over the next few weeks where we're going to try to get you up to speed on the possibilities of using Scratch in Spike and Spike Prime to program for your FLL tournaments. And we're very focused here only on FLL. There's going to be some tutorials that you'll see online about Spike that are for doing whatever you want inside of Spike, building all kinds of fun stuff. This is going to be very focused, our channel in particular, with FLL. So who are we? We are Milford Robotics in Milford, Connecticut. We've got a couple of FLL teams as well as an FRC team starting up, and we're interested in providing some content because we're trying to consider whether or not we're going to be using Spike Prime, and we thought that folks out there are interested as well, so we do some tutorials. And actually, as our first tutorial, this one's a bit of a more complicated one, which is kind of jumping into the deep side a little bit here. This isn't going to be super complicated, but I think we're going to use some of the more complicated features of Scratch. So if you're very new to Scratch, still I think you'll get something out of this, and you'll learn how to do some things that are maybe a little bit more advanced, not super advanced, but some of the more powerful features. We're going to learn how to use MyBlocks, of course, very similar to how you use MyBlocks perhaps if you're doing EV3. We're also going to learn how to use the broadcast feature to send and receive events. And then the last thing we're going to try to learn how to use is a list, and a list is a lot like an array. So what are we going to build today? We're going to build a sample FLL master program. If you've been doing FLL before and you wanted to create a master program, you probably went on YouTube and found a tutorial. I know that at one point we did, so let me show you an example of that. So this is from a very popular YouTube channel. They're showing you how to build a master program. It takes 14 minutes, and you can just see that this is just, this is LabVIEW and Mindstorm, so it's just an absolute mess. It's super complicated, confusing, crazy. You can just look at this, and it's an absolute mess. This is not efficient programming, but this is what you have to do inside of LabVIEW and EV3 because that's the software that we were given. So now that we are able to use Scratch, let's try to do something similar to this, or maybe even a little more complicated than this, and look at how much easier it is to do something like this in Scratch. So that'll be the goal for today. Before I do anything else, I want to just show you the program that we're going to build. So I'm going to switch over to the camera real quick. Alright, so you should be able to see the robot right now, and I'm just going to run the program that's here. Alright, you can see it starts up. As it starts up, it's running program 1, and I'm just using the left and right arrows to switch between different programs. So this is the second program, it's starting to go in a different direction. The third program is moving one of the medium motors. The fourth program is starting the other medium motor, and you can see I can't go past 4, and I can't go past 1 either. So basically those are my 4 programs, and it's set, so use those buttons and stop otherwise. Alright, so I'm going to stop that. And we'll come back to the main screen. Alright, so here in front of you I have Spike Prime open. I've already got a little tutorial program open that I'm going to use to build out this program, and we're going to see if we can build something similar to that. We're going to start halfway, and then we'll move on and show something a little bit more useful and dynamic. But to start off, we're first just going to jump in and start to do a very basic left and right control of a program. Alright, so just to start off here, I'm going to create a variable. Actually, before I even jump there, let me just explain what I have here. I have when program starts, which always starts off our program, and then I have set movement motors to A and E in Scratch. In Spike, you can actually see your motors if you're connected and your robot is on, so it knows that A and E are my large motors, and I've selected them as my movement motors, as opposed to my medium motors, which would be C and D in this case. I also have 2 color sensors on B and F, so it's nice that you can actually see that in the interface. Alright, so I've set that ahead of time. We'll talk about that in a future video when we really go through this program and talk about what all these options are and how they work. But for now, we're going to pretend you know some of it, and we're going to just jump in and show you how it looks if you just start programming. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a variable. So I'm going to create a new variable. I'm not going to call this variable, I'm going to call it active program. So we're creating a program, master program, and which one is active? So you'll notice as soon as I created that program, I get a new variable over here in my watcher, as well as there's now a variable available from here, and I can set or I can change that variable. So the first thing I'm going to do is set it. I'm going to set it to 1. We're starting at the beginning. I want to start on 1. So at the very beginning, our active program variable is going to have a value of 1. And then from there, we're going to change our program to something to that 1, right? So we're going to create a MyBlock here. We'll go in the wrong direction, and we're going to call that MyBlock change program to, and we're going to add a number, an input number. And in this case, I'm going to name this number X. Change program to X. X is just any number, right? The actual X here isn't going to be something where it's just the name of our variable actually inside of our MyBlock. So I'm going to hit save. The other thing I could do is I could say program num. Why don't I do that just so that I have a little bit nicer, cleaner, and easier to understand code. Okay. So now I have change program to, and you notice that I have this value here. I can put a 1 here, and that would be hard-coded, or now that I've already defined active program up here, I can say set change program to active program. And so I haven't actually defined that. So now in my define block, you'll notice that for some reason on my computer, because of the size of my monitor, when it creates a new MyBlock, it hides it up here. So I'm just dragging it down so I can see it. So this is my new MyBlock, and this is the start of my MyBlock. And so I'm going to define here what I want it to do when I change my program. Okay. So in this case, I'm going to choose one of my programs that I want to run. Now, before I do anything else, I'm actually going to create those programs. So I'm going to make 5 MyBlocks real quick. So bear with me. I'm going to use the City Shaper theme. So I'm going to create an elevator mission program. All right, save that. That's going to be my elevator program right there. Long term, this could be a really long program, but for now, I'm going to keep it simple. That's just before I do that, I'm going to just create the other one. So I'm going to do elevator. I'm going to do safety factor. You guys might remember that one from this season. Save that. Pop that over here. I'm not defining it yet, other than putting these in a row. And actually, I need a little space for these because otherwise they get in the way. All right, and then the next one we're going to do is steel swing. So in ours, we actually try to combine and do more than one thing at a time, right? So this one is actually going to run 2 different programs. And then the last one I'm going to make here, I'm going to make a new MyBlock, and I'm going to call it design build. You guys will remember that one. And also I'm going to do bridge, because this is our last one. We have to get up on that bridge. So I'm going to save that. Now, these are going to be fake programs for now. We're just going to do something silly, just so you can see how this works. So for now, like we did in the example that I showed you, I'm going to just turn on the light. So you're going to see the light was going to come on, and I'm just going to, like we showed you in the beginning, light it up left to right. So here's the first one. The second one is going to be the second bar. See if I can draw a straight line. Yep. And paste. 2 and 3. So really right now all we're doing is making our program, which would eventually perhaps be much more complicated. For now, just to make sure that it's properly switching between them. And then the other thing I'm going to do is that I set my movement motor, so I'm going to say start moving on here, and we're going to go, we're going to have this one go left, and then we're going to also have the safety factor go right. 100%. Oop, I missed it. Let's see if I can get this. Sometimes it's a little buggy. And then the other one I'm going to do is I'm going to start some medium motors. So I'm going to start the medium motor A and medium motor B. So in this case, I can choose C and D, because those are the ones my motors are set to. I can see that right here in the diagram. So I've got 4 programs. Now we're going to pretend for now that these are actual real programs, but they're actually just simple examples, little placeholders for now. And I'm going to show you how we're going to just move to them. Now to start, I'm just going to do something very simple, which is I'm going to make an if statement. So if my active program, remember that was the variable we set, is 1, I want it to do elevator. If it's 2, I want it to do safety factor. If it's 3, I want it to do steel swing. And if it's 4, I want it to do design build bridge. And for now, I'm going to make a really ugly if statement. And I'm just going to build this out. So I'm going to say if, and now I'm going to just do set this so that I'm going to check to see if my value is one thing or the other. So if I can say equals, so if program num equals 1, then we're going to call elevator. Right? Boom. Okay. So if this value was 1, we're going to call elevator. Now we're going to have to make this a nested if here. It's going to start to get a little ugly just because I'm showing you a simplified version first. I'm going to copy and paste this, and I'm going to say, oop, gotta be careful here. Grab it in the right spot. Really doesn't like me. There we go. If program number is 2, and remember program num is the active program value being passed into my my block, and then I can just grab it and I can use it anywhere inside of this my block. Alright, so that's the second one. In that case, I want to use safety factor. Actually, why don't I just pull these out here so I have them later. So safety factor is the next one, and then the last one more of these. And we can copy and paste this again. Make it 3. And 4 will be that one, and steel string will be 3. So if I call it with 1, it'll run 1. If I call it with a 2, it'll run safety factor, steel string, and then design build bridge. So it'll run each of these programs. All right. And so I've got this. It's pretty ugly, this if statement right here, but it'll do the job for now. All right. So the first thing I want to do is I want to write code so that our buttons will actually do something. So pull out 2 button event handlers. So I'm going to do this one and this one, so on. If left button is released, and if right button is released. Now on your key pad, if you want to go left, we're going to the left, we're going negative, and if we're going to the right, we're going positive. So let's write a little bit of code that does that. And again, we're going to grab some if statements. In this case, I don't need an if else. I'm just going to use a regular plain old if. So let's see here. Just grab this, nice and simple. Copy paste that down here as well. And here, if I'm going left, normally I would just if I'm going left, I want to decrement by 1. So I was on 4, now I want to go to 3. If I was on 3, I want to go to 2. If I'm on 2, I want to go to 1. But if I'm on 1, there's no 0, so we want to stop it from going below 1. So we're just going to put a little operation here that says, hey, if you're less than 1, if you're greater than 1, increment, but otherwise don't. So if the active program, and we have to grab that from down here, if the active program is greater than 1, then we're going to increment it. We're going to decrement it, and we're going to change the program. So as we did change program and set over here, we're going to copy both of these. So down here, change program to active program, and we're going to set active program. Oh, wait a second, we don't want to set it, we want to change it. So I'm going to put this in here. I'm going to get rid of this. Just a tip, you can always delete the thing that you're focused on, like that. Or if you have it out here, the fastest way, just throw it over here. Anything you throw over here just deletes. So what I did is I did change. So I could either set something to a specific value, or I can change that by amount. In this case, I'm changing it by 1. But I don't want 1 here because I'm counting down, because I'm hitting left. So I want to do -1. So I'm just going to decrement -1 at a time. So if I was 4, I'm 3. If I'm 3, I'm 2, etc. But if I'm 1, I'm not going to decrement at all. I'm not going to do anything, because this is here saying don't ever go past 1. Okay, so if my active program is greater than 1, do this, but if not, do nothing. All right, and we're going to do the same thing down here. So look, I can't copy and paste this for this other one because I need greater than in this case, because we're going to say if it's greater than 4, don't do anything. We're going to have 4 programs, so if it's greater than 4, don't do anything. So instead of the greater one, I went less than. So if it's less than 4, do it. If not, don't. So sorry if I confused there. I kind of confused myself. All right, so same thing. If active program is less than 4, and then we're going to grab these same things and do it down here. So you can see they're very similar, just in different directions. So this one's going to be positive. Okay, so when it's left button pressed, decrement. If it's right button pressed, increment. Okay, and so our program will either be 1, 2, 3, or 4. Up here, it'll only ever be 1, 2, or 3 because we're decrementing, and up down here, it'll always be 2, 3, or 4 because we're incrementing. And it's going to pass these variables into this change program MyBlock and call one of these. All right, and you're going to see that this will work. I'll run it real quick just so you can see. So we're going to switch over to the camera. right? And I'm just going to hit run. Now it's going to be a little bit different than what you saw before, because we have some behaviors that we have to fix. So I have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now you might notice something here. All of them are currently running. Why is that? So let's stop it. I'm going to come back so that you can see again. All right. So why are they all running? And that's because we're not ever telling them to stop. They're just, we told one motor to turn on, we turn another motor on, but we never anywhere told it to turn off. So I want to do one more thing here. I'm going to create another MyBlock, and I'm going to say stop everything, guys. So stop everything. And save that. And I'm going to grab the definition, and in the definition here, I'm going to tell it to literally stop doing things, right? So what do we want it to stop? We wanted to stop other stacks, sounds, and motors. This is just me speaking from experience here, but other stacks, you can have multiple stacks in Scratch running at the same time, and so if you want to run a new program, it's really important that you stop the other ones, or that will continue to do things. So we're going to grab a few of those things. The first one we're going to do is stop other stacks, like we just talked about. Then we're going to also stop all sounds. I'm going to grab that one, and the last one here is motors. So you can see it says stop motors. Now I'm going to show you a little trick here. Not too difficult, but I could do, if I wanted to, I could stop motor A, stop motor B, stop motor C, right? Set them. But I don't want to do that. Instead, what I'm going to do is just make this more efficient. I'm going to just say multiple, and then I'm going to select all 4. And now I have A, C, E, and D are all going to stop. Okay, so that's my definition of a stop. And then I can also just come down here, and I want to have everything here stop. And I want to do that before I choose my new program, because I don't want to do it after I choose my program, because then I'll stop my new program. So I just said stop everything before I change it, right? So let's just run that and see what happens. Alright, so there's program 1, program 2. Now it didn't stop there because it's using the same motors. Now there it did stop. You can see the wheels are no longer running, and so they're now stopping. So that's good. That's the behavior that we wanted. All right. Now, all right, we've got it running pretty well. What's the next level? So what I want to do is I want to show you how to make this a little bit nicer instead of using this truly ugly. Oh, hold on one second. I gotta make sure I can bring you guys back to the screen here. Otherwise, you won't know what I'm talking about. There you go. So hopefully everybody can see. I want to get rid of this truly ugly if statement, and I want to replace it with an array. And I also want to use broadcast instead of, just in this if statement calling them directly. So I'll show you what I'm talking about there, and we're going to kind of rebuild this a little bit. And so we're going to talk about how we do those two things. All right. So the first thing I want to do is I want to replace this with what I want instead of this. So I'm going to replace this entire thing with 2 lines of code. And in order to do that, I also have to define my array. So first, I'm going to show you guys how to make a list. So in Scratch, a list is the same thing as an array, with one little difference, and that is that normally in all programming, arrays start with 0 and increment up to however many things you have in your array. In Scratch, because this is a little bit aimed at kids and beginners, a list starts with 1. So they've just kind of simplified that. Now there are programming languages that do that. So just if you're confused, you do in Scratch have to start your list references in 1. So let's make a list. I'm going to make a list. And what do we have a list of? We have a list of programs. So I'm going to call this the programs list. All right. And you're going to see that over here now I have a list of programs. And I'm going to put in here some strings. I'm going to use the 4 strings that I have here. So my first one is elevator. Then I'm going to have safety factor. You'll notice I'm using exactly the same spelling and capitalization. Steel, swing, and design, build, bridge. Alright, so there you go. Those are my 4 programs in my program list. Now, I also want to make a new variable. I want to have a new variable this. What program am I currently running? Right? So I'm going to go here. I'm going to call my new one current program. Alright, so current program by default is a 0, but we're going to actually start filling it in. So I'm going to take this, get rid of it. We'll leave it over here for now, just so you guys can see it. And then I make a set. So I'm going to set my current program. You know what? I don't like this. Active program is a number, and current program is a string. So let's change our variable names just a little bit so that it's clear. So I'm going to rename my variable. I'm going to call it current program name. And active program I can change to active program number. Alright, you'll notice it changed that in all the same places automatically, which is really nice. That's one of the really nice things about Scratch is you change your variable name and it changes it everywhere. It makes it super easy to do so. Alright, so I want to set my current program name. What do I want to set it to? I want to set it to the item that's in my list at the current program number. Okay, so I change my program number either to the active program here, here, or here, and I want to change that value to the string at the array of that number. So if this comes in as 1, I want it to say elevator inside of current program name. If it says 2, I want it to say safety factor, 3 steel swing, and 4 design bridge. Now, how do I do that with an array? So I'm going to show you something down here. So you'll see here item 1 of programs list, and you'll notice that the 1 is this spot that you can put a variable in. So that's what we're going to use here. I'm going to put this right here, and now it's going to say set current program number to item 1 of the program list. Now I don't want it to only ever be 1, that would just be elevator. So I want to use program num as a variable so that it'll change the value that is actually in there. So it's going to say change program to 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, whatever was called, and then it'll find in the array that 2 or 3. So this would be 2, this would be 3, just like we said, and it's going to put this value inside of here. Okay, so now we have a string name that we can call. And now I'm going to do something new that we haven't shown before, and I'm going to do a broadcast. And broadcast is really events. So up here under events, you can see I have the option to do broadcast a message, right? I also have broadcast and wait. We'll talk about that another time. But for now, I'm just going to say broadcast a message. Now, what message do I want to broadcast? I want to broadcast the current name of the program. So I'm just going to go back down here, grab that variable, and throw it in here. So we're going to broadcast that name. I want to stop here. For those of you who might notice there's a little bit of a problem here. I'm not directly calling my MyBlock. I wish I could. You can see I have to find my MyBlock. I can't find a way to directly call MyBlock. I have to first go to an event handler and then call the thing. So it's unfortunately there's no dynamic way to call MyBlock that I've found yet. So hey, if you know, please put it in the comments. That would be great. I don't think it's something that's currently available. All right, so I'm broadcasting that, and now I need to have a listener. When you broadcast something, it's a lot like threads in the old EV3 software. If you remember threads, it allows you to do more than one thing at a time. So a broadcast allows you to say, hey, if you're listening, elevator, it's your turn to go. And if elevator hears that message, it'll start to run its sequence, right? But I'm not talking about a MyBlock. I'm talking about a event handler, a broadcast, and a listen. So I'll show you how to do that in a second. But it's very much allows us to do threaded tasks, so you can do more than one thing at the same time. All right. So I'm going to broadcast the current program name, and in order to do that, I have to listen to it. So now we have to go into events, and we have these whens. And one of our whens is when I receive a message, right? Well, what messages are we going to have? Now, unfortunately, I have to manually enter this. I can't do this dynamically. I wish I could, but I have to be able to say in here, elevator. It's listening for elevator. Or, I'll put all 5 of them out here. Actually, you know what? Let's do this way just because we'll make it nice and pretty for a second. But give me a little bit more room. And I'm just going to set these 4 up. So when I receive elevator, when I also receive safety factor, when I receive steel swing, and when I receive design build bridge. All right. So what are we going to do when we get those things? We're just going to call those MyBlocks. elevator is going to call elevator, design build bridge is going to call design build bridge, steel swing is going to call here, and safety factors here. Now, this is a little inefficient, like I was mentioning. There's not much I can do about it right now, but I have a broadcast. I'm listening to those broadcasts, and I'm just calling the individual ones. All right. So right now, if I was to do this, it's going to get the value out of the program list and then show it. All right. There's one other thing I want to do before I do that, though, and that is making this value dynamic right here. So right now I have, if my active program number is less than 4, well, I don't want it to be less than 4. If my list has 6 things into it, I want it to be less than 6. If my list has 2 things, I want it to be less than 2. So I can put a value there that says length of program list. And so I'm going to pop that in here. And I can say if my active program number is less than the length of my program list, then increment. But not if I'm greater than that or I'm equal to that. All right. And so now it's pretty much set up, and I'm ready to try out my program and see what happens. All right. Let's make sure see if I made any mistakes or if we're good to go. I'm going to hit play, and we're going to switch over to the camera. All right. So there's our first one, the second one, the third one, that worked. Now this doesn't do much differently than the other one was doing. But let me just show you real quick what happens. So now I'm using my array here. If I come in here and I have safety factor instead of elevator first, so I'm just changing the order of them, and I'm going to put steel swing last. Put that here, grab the rest of this and put it in the 3. The other thing I could do if I really wanted to is I could call elevator again. Oh, let's do that. Right? So now I have 5, and let's do steel swing again. Alright, so now I have 6 things in my array, right? So this should be an array of 6, so I should be able to hit right 6 times, and it should go safety factor, elevator, design build bridge, steel swing, elevator, steel swing. So I've made it dynamic so that my list is programming and controlling the order of my programs. Alright, so let's run it and see what happens. Oh, hold on a second. I think I forgot to switch back to the camera. I'm sorry. Real quick, I just want to show you what I did. All I did here was I added a couple of variables, and I moved these around in my programs list. So I used to have it be elevator safety factor. I've switched those two. It used to be steel swing and then design bridge. I've switched those two. And then I've added elevator and steel swing as 2 extra programs. I could also add more here. I could delete one and then delete it from the array. I can now really easily program this. And then later on, now that I have this set up, I can build these out. I forgot to delete this, so let me delete that. All right. So let's go back again to my camera, and we'll show you what happens. So all we've done here is changed the array. All right. So you notice it's already on 2. Now it's on 1. Now it's on 4. Now it's on 3. Now it should go 4, 3 again. Oh, I'm sorry. No, it's go 1, 3 again. All right, and I can't go any further because I had 6 programs, and now I can cycle back through those 6 programs. All right, so that's what we wanted to show you today. Hopefully that was helpful. I'm going to come back now one more time so you can see what we built. And you can see this is really simple. It's able to be controlled using the arrows, so we're able to switch between programs we want. We're able to stop what we were doing before and switch to the new thing. And then you could take these and build out your programs. You could write a whole bunch of stuff. You could share MyBlocks and variables, and you could then very easily on the table at your FLL tournament switch between your programs. All right. If you thought that was helpful, please like and subscribe. We're going to be doing some more videos. I realize this one was a little bit of a jump into the deep end, but in the future we will definitely do some more introductory stuff. All right. Take care, everyone.